Here with Jim Ousley, who, if you can tell in his credits, is a writer of for Red Five Comics. Let's see, Butcher Queen and the Atonement Bell, Eisner nominated, right? Horror
Yep.
series. And you've got a story in the latest anthology from Storm King Comics. That's Sandy King Carpenter and John Carpenter's comic book company. Tales for Halloween Night, Volume 11. So tell
Yes.
me about it. Let's just get
Oh,
to it.
well, yeah, I've been a big fan of this anthology for a long time. I feel like with a lot of horror anthologies, it can be kind of a mixed bag of stories, but I always felt that Tales for Halloween Night was always consistently really good. Like every story is really good. And I just kind of became a fan, and from doing different conventions, over the years, I got to know Sandy, and always very nice. And she's been on a couple panels that I've moderated, and finally just decided to submit something to them. I had a story with Benjamin Sawyer that who's the artist that I thought would be perfect for it, and um, yeah, and they liked it, and it's part of the book, and I'm really
Can,
thrilled about it. Really
can you at
am.
least give us the title of it?
Yep, the title is "There's a Dead Girl in My Chest." That's the
Okay,
title.
that sounds scary. That sounds scary. Uh,
Yeah, it's a
and
really fun story.
this anthology, because the Tales for Halloween Night and Storm King in general, great books, but not all that much, local comic shop kind of penetration. In
Yeah,
fact, I think I've seen them at bookstores, and then I see them at conventions because I'm always at conventions. So
right.
where did you discover that? Has it just been through cons?
It's been through conventions. Yeah, it sure has. I mean, that's been my experience as well. You can find them in a few bookstores, a lot of online at conventions. That's where they really seem to. That's where their fan base seems to be. Um, but you can, your local comic shop can certainly order the books, and they're always available at conventions and things like that. And at
Right.
stormkingcomics.com, of course.
There we go. I because yeah, with distribution being insane right now, there's no better way. Every week I go into House of Secrets in Burbank, and then we spend 2 minutes just going, really? How does it work this week? Does it work this week? We don't know.
Yeah,
Uh
it's crazy,
so
isn't it? I mean, it's like I really feel for the folks that run the comic shops. Thank goodness for them. They've really had to weather the storm, haven't they? First there was COVID, and then there was the whole diamond uh, uh,
yeah.
implosion fiasco, whatever you want to call it. And they've had to scramble, and publishers too, especially the indie publishers, like Red Five and Storm King.
Well, and that's what
Um,
I wanted to ask you because I think Red 5 is a little more mainstream, if you will, because they had Mandrake for a little bit, and
mhm.
I think got noticed. That's the weird thing about the industry too. It's like you're gonna have a lot of great new indie stuff, but you get noticed when you've got some licensed character that's like, oh, okay, that at
Sure.
least says you're coming up. But Red
Mhm.
5 out of Austin, I believe, right? Is that
Houston.
Houston.
Yep.
So I knew it was Texas. So I mean, big margin for error, I realized with Texas, but so they're out of Houston, and they just started Dread 5 because I've talked to Drew Edwards a few times
Mhm.
about that. So you know, you then are associated with two of these indies. Talk about Red 5 and your work with them.
Well, Red Five, they basically really gave me my start as a published writer because what happened was our my artist Benjamin Sawyer, who I've worked with for a number of years, he went to San Diego Comic Con, years ago, and we had written an anthology called The Dead Palace, and it was a really good horror anthology, kind of a horror sci-fi hybrid anthology. different stories, and we made a little kind of a pitch comic version of it that had some of the stories and some of the artwork and the description and things like that. And we gave it to different publishers, and Red Five was actually the first to respond, and they really liked it. And it was funny because because of the nature of the book, there are different stories at different lengths. So they had started out wanting to do it as a monthly horror anthology that I would write, but it didn't work out that way because in our graphic novel version, like I said, the stories had different lengths, and that was by design. But that wouldn't work for a monthly comic. So they asked me if I had anything else that I wanted to pitch to them that was maybe a story from the Dead Palace that would make a good series. And I said, yeah, I've got an idea for Butcher Queen, a Butcher Queen story, which was one of the short stories of the Dead Palace. But I didn't really have another full story, for a series. I had never written a whole series before, so I had a week to come up with a series concept, and so I kind of threw myself into the fire. They really liked it, and so that's how it started. So that was the first series, Butcher Queen, Black Star City, and that was followed up with Butcher Queen, Planet of the Dead, which was the second series, and that collection just came out in trade last October.
Last October, but at Comic Con it was available because I know I bought it
Yes, exactly.
two
Yeah,
summers ago. Just as
right.
I got it, Halloween Man at Comic Con, and then of course you had the
Yeah.
Atonement Bell, and Butcher Queen is a little more sci-fi. Which are you more comfortable working in, sci-fi or horror?
I don't know. Growing up, I loved both of them so much. I tend to go a little bit more on the horror side. It's just my natural the thing that I enjoy, But I love sci-fi too. I think it's not really as much about genre. It's about what the story is, what adventure it could take me on as a writer. That's kind of what I'm into, you know. So yeah, it just depends. I'm sorry that's kind of a non-answer, but it's
No, that's okay. I mean, look, Fanboy Planet covers everything, and if people want to, still frame and look at all the things behind me, you'll see it's all sorts of stuff. So,
right.
I asked this question at LA Comic Con because we were doing a panel a couple weeks ago. Horror tends never seems to go out of style. Obviously, John Carpenter's had a very long career and justly so, famed for a lot of different stories there. This year more than ever, it feels like people are diving into horror to escape a little bit or to think about the world in a kind of safe way. Because Butcher Queen definitely, Black Star City felt that way suddenly reading that over the 4th of July. Like, oh, this hits very, you wrote it a few years ago and here it is.
We talked about that.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, is it just, I mean, I think to some extent it's just history rhyming. It's not like you're necessarily responding, but now as you're looking forward to your next piece, you know, how is that how are you responding to the moment in your writing?
Well, I can tell you. So just to go back to the first Butcher Queen series, that was really came up with that during the first Trump administration. And some of that was inspired by the separation of families and what I felt was the disrespect we have for some of our um, the foundational characteristics that are supposed to make our country special, and the immigrant story. Obviously, I mean, I don't have to tell you this, but it's a massive part of who we are, you know. And
Mhm.
so that was what drove a lot of Butcher Queen, Black Star City, for sure. Um, in the case of the Atonement Bell, I had gone to this is a kind of a strange place for this to come from, but hopefully it'll make sense. I went to a grew up in St. Louis. It's a very Catholic Irish Catholic city, and I I had went to Catholic grade school and Catholic high school, and years later, in the advent of social media, I decades later, I kind of got in touch with a lot of the people that I had grown up with and that I went to these schools with, and I had found that not all, but a good chunk of them had become these people who were uh, extremely right wing, uh, extreme MAGA, but somehow also very religious. So they would uh, post Bible quotes and then post videos about how great it was that families are being separated, or how much of a insert offensive word here Hillary was, or you know
Hmm.
whatever female liberal female was out there, and joking about it. But then there'd be a Bible quote. So um, that oddball juxtaposition really became the seed that became the Atonement Bell. Um, I think the great thing about horror as a genre is that it really allows you to tell a story that you can hopefully be entertained by. But if you look a little bit deeper, there's usually always something else there. And for me, if you read the Atonement Bell, you can read it and enjoy it. I think just a horror story,
Hmm.
Um, but if you look at it, you could really tell what it's actually about. You know, and I'm actually really proud of that, and that's another reason why I love working in horror. There's a dead girl on my chest in the John Carpenter's Tales for HalloweeNight. That is uh, in that same world. It's also involves. It's a fun story. If you read it, it's creepy, but there's also something beneath it as well. And I think that's how I navigate the world. You know.
Yeah. And I alluded up top, discovering. I think we sort of became friends before I realized that we had more in common in our background than I thought. And you do a lot of acting. How much does that affect the way you write?
Well, I think the great thing about acting is that, and you know this too. You When you play a role, you have to find something in that character that you relate to. You've got to um, empathize to some extent, even if you're playing someone awful. You have to empathize or find some bit of relatability in there. And I think when you write something, when you write a character or when you're writing a story, you kind of have to do the same thing. You have to. It does involve some acting in a sense because you have to get into that character's headspace. You have to figure out what their favorite color is, how they talk, what their views are. So I think there is a direct correlation between those things. Absolutely.
Do you act scenes out and terrify your family, like wondering what's going on?
I mean, I'm like a big dorky goofball around my family, so I think I probably horrify them enough as it is.
So the kids
Uh,
just go, yeah,
oh
just
yeah.
dad again.
Oh oh yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, John Carpenter's Tales for a Halloween Night, Volume 11, I believe available now, and certainly just in time for this year's Halloween night. So, Jim, thank you so much for taking some time, and look forward to our next conversation. Thanks for watching, and be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any Fanboy Planet video content. Be sure to visit the Fanboy Planet website for other features and episodes of the Fanboy Planet podcast. And remember, use your powers for good.